Jesus answering said to them, Take heed, for many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and they will seduce many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be pestilences and famines and earthquakes in places. Now all these are the beginnings of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall put you to death, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be scandalized, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall seduce many.
Welcome to Analog Catholic, everyone. Today we're talking about artificial intelligence. And no, we don't mean people who think they're smarter than they are. We mean computers and programs and whatnot
That was
that
good.
try to,
That was
yeah.
funny.
Was that good? Thank you. That came to my head as soon as I was talking. I did not plan that. Talk about real intelligence. Okay. Yeah, today's topic is artificial intelligence. It's big, it's hot, it's new, it's in the news all the time about everything. It seems like it came from nowhere. It was very much a sci-fi thing for a long time. Then it was like, oh, we have some real rudimentary artificial intelligence-esque things. And then, like, what was it, like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, it just like exploded. ChatGPT, um, Google, I think they call it Gemini. Uh, Well, I mean, there was like the proto ones like Siri and Amazon Echo and like even the Hey Google, whatever it was called, things. But just like these actual programs where you can sit and talk to them and they respond to you and they answer your questions. Some of them can generate imagery and videos, others can generate sounds and voices. It's huge, it's new, it's everywhere. Ben, what are your thoughts?
Um, I don't know if Siri is considered artificial intelligence. Maybe it is. I guess in some ways. I think what made like a few years ago when Chat GPT dropped, like what made that such a big thing was um it's like that concept of machine learning,
Mm,
of that. Like that was the first like kind of chat bot that existed that like learned things.
hmm.
Versus like Siri was like told how to respond to certain cues. Same thing with like
Yeah,
Alexa, right? Like there was like it learned the cues and then it learned how to respond to each cue versus something like ChatGPT, like it's programmed how to like respond to certain cues, but then it also can like learn how to like analyze data in new ways, which makes it unique in that way. And then yeah, that like can write a essay for your college course kind of thing, right? Like not I'm not accusing you of this, Robert. I'm just saying the general you, royal you. What do they
yeah.
say?
I think Royal You
Okay,
is the proper way.
but yeah, just the concept of like you can generate things, and then the image thing is wild. That's the thing
Yeah.
I play with, um, a little bit, but yeah, it's crazy. Um, I I think it must have been my senior year of college, um, when AI began to become a thing people were doing.
Hmm.
Um, and it's crazy. Like people, and this was like so. It was early on where there was like I think there are like more systems in place now to like check content, for AI generation, but like people would just be like, "Oh yeah, I just had AI write my entire essay," and it's like, "What? Like, that's great." And it's like the stuff it pumps out because I've messed with it a little bit, like is convincing, like
Yeah.
which is wild. Um, you and I have a mutual friend, um, who uses it a lot for like images and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
the way it's like it's and he's got like the plus version of Chat GPT or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's done so much work with it where it like learns the way to respond to his prompts. But
Hmm.
like the paintings that it's not an actual painting, but like the
Yeah.
paintings that it produces are insane, right?
Yeah.
It's like crazy how he can like spit out this prompt and he refines it. But there's something like crazy with that. Um, yeah. So there's like, and he uses it as a tool, and um, it produces content that, in theory, is bringing souls to Christ in some way.
Yeah.
So like, there's a conversation there about that, but it is interesting. Um, and there are those that would say, like, especially with artwork, like art and like writing, of like these things are expression of a human soul, right? Like you write a poem, right? Like
Hmm.
that's expressing your soul, or like you're painting, right? That's like
Hmm.
expressing who you are, like your soul. And because ChatGPT in theory doesn't have a soul, um, there's something weird we're doing by like having it produce artwork. Um, yeah, what do you think of that?
I think that was great. No, that was really good. I think the thing that I'll touch on first is the mutual friend referencing the artwork. Well, I guess I'll touch more on the artwork part of it. Yeah, the generation of artwork is what's more interesting to me than its probably more typical use, which is basically to be a glorified search engine. Um, right? Because that's what you're doing when you just type a question. You say, "Hey, ChatGPT, what is this?" And they're just like, "Okay, this is what that is." Like that's good. That's what Google is. That's Google. Um, but when you have, "Hey, I'm going to give you a prompt and I'm going to say like five things. I need you to make it in this style of art," and it gives it to you like 80% of the way there, and then you just kind of tweak it. That's what's crazy to me because I don't know. Maybe I don't know AI well enough. I don't know AI well enough. I don't even know why I'm pretending I know AI well. Um, it's going to sound really dumb, but it's like, how does it see? Like, how does it know what it's actually making? Um, I know there's like the whole like the binary numbers thing, and it's all the behind the scenes. Like the computer mind, whatever you want to call it, knows what it's doing and knows that when I do this, that produces this, and it gets a cookie in the form of affirmation from its programmers in the sense of they don't lobotomize it and restructure it so it finally does the right thing. Um, which is basically how I assume language learning models work. It's just a ton of here's what I think you mean, and then you either affirm it and then it just like puts it into its programming or whatever of like, okay, when I do this, when I'm asked this, I get like I get affirmation, I get told yes. And not like affirmation in like an emotional, like, oh, I feel good because they affirm me, but just like in the one in zero, one means yes, zero means no. When yes, it means do this again when said the same thing, right? And when no, it means retry. Um, but when it comes to art, that's what's really impressive to me. If it can look good, sometimes it's still a mess. I know when the first stuff came out, it was ugly and ridiculous, but now it's getting ridiculously refined. Um, and even videos, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I have a much to say about AI other than one, I don't think it'll ever grow consciousness. I don't think if you stick AI into like a fake human synthetic body, you have a human. I think you just have a really sophisticated robot. And I don't, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of my thoughts are more like on the sci-fi thing because that's been my biggest interaction with AI is the theoretical applications of it via my consumption of sci-fi media. Because I have like not touched it at all in real life. I don't use ChatGPT at all. I don't use Grok or whatever at all. I don't use AI assistants on anything. I turn them off. I have an iPhone. I don't use Apple Intelligence. I don't know. I just don't want it. I don't want to use it. So my practical experience with AI is super limited because I deliberately do everything I can to avoid it.
Yeah. I've messed with like the image generator. That's what I've
Hmm.
played with. Our mutual friend has encouraged me to play with it. Uh, and I think it's very interesting. And like the theory is, right? Like it is taking billions and billions of images that are freely accessible on the internet. And it is like the images it is taking what it knows about the images. So like it has a picture of a cat and it knows like this is what a cat looks like.
Right.
And it has thousands of those. And then somehow it identifies what is consistent and what can be like tweaked and what is not consistent. And then it like gives you a cat using sort of the consistent elements. And then if you say like I want the cat to be orange,
Hmm.
and then realizing I can make this cat orange, like because there are some orange cats out there, and like you can sort of see what an orange cat looks like, and again like looks at the consistency, and then it produces that for you, um, which is interesting. And then
Hmm.
I don't know, it's like super weird, and it's also like one of the things that's come up, and I think that there's this isn't going to go anywhere, but is like legal challenges to, well, it's using, a painting that I drew of a cat to train this
Yeah.
model.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't I get paid for that kind of thing? Um, because like what the direction we're kind of going in, especially as it's progressing to a certain level, is, there was a day when it's like if you needed a painting of a cat, like you would have to pay somebody to paint a cat for you, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd
Yeah.
have to buy that, and then an artist would get paid. But it's getting so good, especially with like digital images,
Hmm.
that like why would we pay an artist to do it if this will do it for free? Like there is like a premium version of ChatGPT that can do more or like will do more. But even like the free version of ChatGPT, and this is what I've used,
Yeah.
like I think there's like a limit, and it's like 5 images every 24 hours. So it's not a lot, but
Hmm.
like it'll produce an image for you. And so that's like people can just go and do that. Um, or you pay whatever it is, $5 a month. I don't know, but for it to produce, and then you just produce images.
Yeah.
And like digital art is out the window. Like it doesn't need to exist anymore. So that is like an interesting thing of, again, the legal challenge. Again, I don't think that'll go anywhere just because like everybody is inspired by everything, like the artist
Yeah.
that paints an orange cat they saw on the street, like is not paying the cat for,
Right.
to be inspired by seeing the cat. So I just don't think there's any legal stance, but it does sort of seem like it's going to push those digital, like people that do art for a living, kind
Hmm.
of out of business. Um, because yeah, the amount that it can do now, it's only going to get better, I would think. And so I would think it'll get to the point where it can kind of draw anything, and then like why would somebody pay an artist for it? So I think that is
Yeah.
something that's like kind of sad that the direction it's going.
I yeah, I think I agree with you. I think especially digital imagery, it's so refined now where you can just do it. And there's still like this AI look to images, and you can tell that it's AI. And there are people who get uppity about it and they say, "Why are you doing AI? You should pay someone to do it, or like you can commission someone, or you can pay for uh like licensing to use images from someone or whatever." It's true, you could. Um, and yeah, the language learning machines or like they learn via like dredging society the internet of all its information and all of its imagery and compiling it all into this one like mega mind sort of thing. And I think you and I have talked about this on this show before, that the issue with that, in some cases, sure, maybe copyright issue, whatever. But the issue is if its generation of, say, a human is based on it dredging the internet of images of humans, then in the core of the image it produces, like, is real people. The person it makes is fake, it's not a real person. It probably doesn't look exactly like a real person because it's more of an aggregation of different people. But like at its core, like it sees someone and then makes that someone artificial. It sees a lot of people and then condenses them all into one artificial person. And my issue with that is not, like making an advertisement for your product, but it's the inevitable use and the actually already existing unfortunate use of AI, which is generating pornography with it. Um, and so now you have the issue of if someone's like, oh, I'm just, like, oh, no one's harmed in the making of this because it's all artificial. Like, there's no actual actors, like actors or anything in this pornographic thing I made. It's like, sure, maybe not, but like the images that are being generated are like composites of real people. So real people who don't consent to any of this kind of thing, like there's still a part of their image being used in these imageries, and so that's my big thing with it. And yeah, I just don't want that. I just don't. Obviously, I don't want the pornography part of it, but like I just don't want AI dredging the internet and just taking everything and then compositing it into, I don't know, whatever the heck images you produce. That's my thought on that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's a big thing of yeah, like anybody can use it for anything and then anything that's out there is being used.
mhm.
I think you told me I don't have factual verification of this other than what you said. But that like Facebook
Yeah.
or Meta, I guess, was saying that they use like all the data available to them
Hmm.
uh, to train their AI. So like in
Yeah.
theory, like your private I mean private in the sense that like you only want your friends to see your Facebook photos,
Hmm.
not private because you put them on the internet, but like, something that would not be seen unless you were friends on Facebook with somebody. Like those photos are being used to train the AI,
Yeah.
which is like freaky, right? Because I mean, who's putting stuff on their Facebook that they're like really worried about getting out
Yeah.
there? But like that is like, yeah, like that stuff's going out there. Um, so like that's yeah, like people's personal photos of like them with their cat are being used to train.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of yeah, like a freaky thing, but I think it's also the direction we're going. One of the
Yeah.
things too that comes up like issues is like education of
Yeah.
like you're supposed to write an essay and then somebody you put it into chat gpt and it writes the essay for you, and so you're not really learning how to write an essay,
Hmm.
which I think is a good point. And I think what that's going to lead to is us like going back to like handwritten stuff. Like a big thing, like a big part of my education for college especially was like we would take tests online.
Yeah.
um, so you take an exam online or you like write an essay on your computer. um, and sometimes they would use like the lockdown browser, so you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
um like you could only use one program, like the one program you're supposed to use to take the test, and you can't use anything else. Or if you click out to use something else, like it reports you,
Hmm.
and you don't pass your test. And so like I think stuff like that like will maybe help, but I think what it's going to lead to is like there are other ways to cheat. Like you could have a second computer where you can like use your phone. um and so I think it's going to lead to like in-person tests, like pen and paper, or like some of the digital typewriters that exist now, um, like free write and stuff like we've talked about before,
Hmm.
um, on our low tech episode. So like stuff like that is going to come back, and it's going to be like more in person, definitely
Hmm.
for education. And I feel like that's like a net good, right? Like I think that you learn better kind of doing that. I think there's more accountability that way. Um, I think it's like harder for students, but like I do think like my
Mm.
time in college was probably like the easiest version of college as that it's ever been. And
Yeah.
hopefully we're going to start going in the other direction of students are going to yeah, like have to go in person or do
Yep.
like an oral exam, right? Like they're going to have to recite facts. And I think that's really, really good. Um, and I think that's good for education in general. Because I do really think, like, again, our mutual friend uses AI a lot as a good example of this. Like, he is a good, virtuous man,
Yep.
and he's very intelligent, and he uses AI to like analyze data and stuff.
Mm.
Um, and I think like that's really good. Like, I think it does him good to use it the way he uses it.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that would be bad if he wasn't intelligent or if he wasn't virtuous,
Mm.
right? So like
Yes.
I think
Yes.
I think the key is we need to still educate people. We need people to know how to write an essay. We need people to know how to like organize their thoughts. And when they hit like a certain level of education, then they can start using AI as a tool. But if they're not if they're not intelligent, or if they
Mm.
haven't like learned these skills, like AI is just going to be like a crutch, and then they're not actually going to be able to like perform well in the world. I think like a great example is like a calculator, right? Like it's kind of a dumbed down version, but it's like we still teach like elementary school students like how to like add like 5 plus 10,
Mm.
right? Like they still learn that kind of math. They still learn like long division and things like that. Or I guess there's a new math, maybe it's not long division, but they learn how to do that like up by hand. But in the working world, like nobody expects you to be able to like divide 260 by 33, right? And like actually do that like with a pen and paper. It's like we assume you'll use a calculator to figure that out.
Right.
Um, but like to learn that as a basic, you're kind of forming your brain and like learning how to think analytically. And then when you're sort of matured to that level, then like, okay, you'll just use a calculator for the rest of your life. Like that's fine. But you're able to think analytically. And so I think the same thing with like essay writing is to use that example of like to think how to like formulate your thoughts and how to like make things cohesive and to present it. Um, to write it down. Like you want to be able to do that, and then you can use the tool to like refine it, or like I think we could even get to the point where, yeah, use the tool to like write a paragraph for a slideshow or something. Like I think that's fine, assuming like that's not cheating. But like in the working world, it's like the content is the content, right? Like we need somebody to sit down and write copy for a social media post, and it's like, well, if the AI can do it, the AI can do it, as long
Mm.
as it like gets to the point we want it to be. Um, and so yeah, but I think it requires an intellectual, like virtuous brain to sit down and use the tool.
Hmm.
Because if not, then content's going to devolve and it's going to become unhuman and stupid and things like that.
Yeah, so there's a lot with that, and I'm basically like every other time we talk about anything on our podcast, I am in agreement with you. Yeah, there's definitely this noticeable difference in AI use by those that are like already intelligent and virtuous, and those that are just um pawning off their own thought process to a computer to do it for them. They are just uninterested in thinking. They're uninterested in putting in the effort, uninterested in doing the work. They want to just be told the correct answer. And that exists in two ways, I think. The first way is what you were saying, like college students. I think that's one, we have too many college students. There are too many people in college that probably honestly shouldn't qualify for college. Secondly, within that, college has become like, to be frank, it's kind of a joke. Um, and people just don't care about what happens in the classes. They just know they need to get to the piece of paper, and then they get a job with that, and that's all they care about. And so the effort from college students in general, even if AI wasn't like here to do essays for them, I think had just been declining steadily because people realized, oh, I just need to get the degree, and then I'll get a decent job as it is. I'm fine, you know. Um, so you have that part of it. The other part of it is non-college students, but just people in general who literally don't know what they're doing anymore with their life. They're like, instead of sitting down and coming up with a rule of life or coming up with a schedule or a way to organize things, they just literally ship it all off to ChatGPT or some other AI program and just have them do it for them. There's no work put into these ideas. And what I know about intelligence, which is not a lot, like human intelligence, is that it's as much about the process as it is about the destination when it comes to working through problems. So coming up with the answer is not like knowing the answer is not necessarily the sign of intelligence. Is can you get to the answer, right? So kind of what you're saying is like we still want to teach kids how to do math, how to do multiplication, division, even though they'll use calculators down the road, like they still need to know how to do math. So in the same way, people are just like forgetting or just honestly not even learning how to do certain things. They're not sitting down and challenging themselves to learn new topics. They're not sitting down and challenging themselves to figure out if they can develop plans of actions or rules of life. It's just, I'm going to type in what I'm thinking into a computer. The computer will literally think for me, give me an answer, and I will just approach it without criticism. But you need to approach it with criticism because it's wrong. People make fun of the Google AI a lot because for a very long time, even maybe still now, if you would Google something, the Google AI suggestion that would pop up was just like laughably incorrect, um, just totally mismanaged, right? But if you don't think at all, if you're legitimately not someone who's critically examining the answers you get via AI, you're going to do something stupid or dangerous because you're just going to listen to whatever it says and have no common sense, no sense of, you know, wait a second, that doesn't sound right, or I'm pretty sure that's not correct. You'll just be like, okay, this is what AI says, I'm going to do it, and that's a very dangerous side effect of AI. Is just this abdication of our own intelligence and just handing it off to artificial intelligence. Um, yeah, that's another big thing. And going into so there's AI and then there's like AGI, which a, in my mind I thought those two things were synonymous, but they're not technically, I guess, synonymous. So AI is, as we know it now, with all these language learning models and all these things with like ChatGPT. AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, is what they actually call AI hitting the level of human intelligence, and essentially being as smart as a human or like as comparable as a human. So a lot of these AI companies, that's their goal. They want to create AGI. And like I said, kind of tied into like the sci-fi aspect of it, it's always dystopian. It always ends poorly. Like AIs take over for everything and they start like either killing off the humans or just like making humans like fat and lazy and vicious because they no longer have to like do anything. Um, yeah. So AGI, as we see it, as like this artificial general intelligence, is not here yet. It is the goal of a lot of people. And I'm just, I don't know, man. Our first ever podcast episode on our old podcast is was on the book series Dune. And in the book series Dune, they reference what's called the Butlerian Jihad, where humanity realized AI is like terrible, and they went on this jihad across the galaxy, destroying what they call thinking machines. And basically, they banned any machine that was capable of replicating intelligence, so AI. Um, and I'm like, I don't know. I honestly feel like that could be something that happens in the future, not to the scale it happens in the book series, but just like this idea of we'll hit a point where maybe AI has taken over so much of our lives that virtue is not even possible because we've just succumbed to the comfort and familiarity and safety of AI, of just having things think for us and decide for us and work for us. And yeah, that's just very anti-human. But I agree that it can be used for good, it can be used for virtuous works, and that if you approach it with a critical eye, you can hopefully avoid some of these pitfalls. Um, but it's not something I want everywhere, you know. A little bit ago, I mentioned how I switched from Windows to Linux, and I'm glad I did because it looks like after the forced upgrade to Windows 11 from Windows 10, they're like backdooring in a bunch of AI stuff into your operating system. I don't want that. I don't want AI at all on my computer. I don't want things scanning all of my documents. I don't have anything to hide, but I don't care because I don't want my privacy being breached for any reason. Um, yeah. So I don't know. When it comes to AI, I've thought about using like the free, ChatGPT and like using it as a really basic search engine or using it really maybe as a really basic whatever you want to call it, image generator. But outside of that, I really wouldn't want to see AI go any further. I know there's some hope here and some excitement with, oh, it's better at diagnosing medical issues than doctors are. And that might be true. And it might get to the point where it does have like an excellent record in diagnosis, and treatment. And maybe for that reason, yeah, sure, let's use it. That's awesome. Um, but again, only if it's being reviewed by intelligent, virtuous people and going through a critical lens that gives it a human touch. Because otherwise, I just don't think it's going to end well for us. Even if it seems good, I just don't see it ending well. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I also think like back to the education issue. Like I think the
Hmm.
education issue is not like it's a non-issue if we fix education.
Yeah.
Uh, I was talking to a like an elementary education major a few weeks ago, and she was like homeschooled growing up, and
Hmm.
she's like Catholic and all this. So like good individual with like kind of a balanced view on like public education. And she was talking about she said to me, and I thought this was interesting and it makes sense, and I've never thought of it like this, but she was like, when we do elementary education, the goal is not to like teach them like all this stuff about the American Civil War. Like the
Hmm.
goal is to teach them how to like read a text
Hmm.
and think about the text and regurgitate what they've learned and thought about. Um, and so like the fact that we use a text about the Civil War, about the American Revolution, or about like whatever else we do, like these science texts or whatever, right? Like the goal is not that they walk away from elementary education like knowing everything about the American Revolution. The goal is that they've learned how to like process information and
Hmm.
to like speak it back to you. Um, the issue with our education system is after elementary education, we kind of just do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like like in middle school and high school, right? Like we kind of just do what we did in elementary school, but we've already learned how to like read, think, regurgitate.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be like another level, like a new level of thinking that we're teaching.
Hmm.
Um, and so like I think that's where AI becomes a threat is like AI can read, kind of process, regurgitate, give some kind of next level of thought.
Hmm.
Um, but it can't do, philosophizing. It can't like go beyond just like read, process, regurgitate with other information. Like it can't do like this high level thinking.
Yeah.
But we're not teaching that, and that's
Hmm.
like that's why AI can be used to cheat, even at a
Hmm.
college level, is because
Yeah.
we're not really teaching high level of thinking, um, at least not as much as we should be. And so I think that's why it's a threat, and I think that will force like the education system to kind of fix itself because it's like, how can we make it so you can't cheat? Well, we need to like do things that aren't cheatable, and those things are like higher levels of thinking,
Hmm.
uh, or like pushing like technology out of the classroom at younger ages. And so I think that, yeah, I think that's like overall a good thing. And yeah, I don't think like it does, and this is just what it seems to me like, again, with very little experience with this, it seems to be kind of plateauing. Like I haven't like heard like, oh, this great new thing with AI beyond like the image generation seemed to be
Yeah.
better. So I do think like I see as it's coming as a tool, and as it's sort of leveling out. In my conversations with our mutual friend about this, he always compares it to like when the internet came out and where
Yep.
everyone's like, now you can cheat on all your homework because the internet exists.
Right.
And then now we're kind of like, it's, it's fine, right? Like we figured out how to make it work. And so I do think
Yeah.
it's sort of kind of seeping into the classroom in a productive way, and we're learning how to make it work with education, but also like with just daily life. And there are really bad things that the internet does, um, that have like hurt our society, but there's also really good things. And so like with the internet, we think, okay, like a virtuous intellectual person can use this as an effective tool, um, but an unvirtuous dumb person like is going to use it for evil, and we
Yeah.
recognize that and we can live with it. And I think that's sort of how it's coming about with AI. Um, yeah, and I think that's good. And I think yeah, like I agree with you. Like it doesn't need to seep into everything. Um, like there should be spaces without it,
Yeah.
even outside of education. Just like there should be spaces without the internet, right? Like there's a reason we still read physical books,
Hmm.
and don't just like scroll articles on the internet. Like there's something about that. And I think just like we read physical books, like I think it'll like that'll kind of like find its space like as AI kind of develops and as our society develops alongside it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it could be good. I think there could be benefits to it. And I think it could be a real assistance to humans to kind of do some of the grunt work, like calculators and stuff, um, to free up some time to do the more important things, to do the more virtuous things. But yeah, there's just also so much unknown, but just so much potential for vice with it also. Um, so really, like all things, it's just like finding the ability to look for the virtue, use it virtuously, and promote it virtuously. I think there's no going back from the internet. There's no going back from wireless technology like cell phones, television, radio, all that stuff. And I don't think there's going to be going back from AI. I think there's always going to be at least a minimum amount of AI going forward. So it's really just cultivating a virtuous use of it and just making sure that we don't, yeah, just like give up on the higher thinking, on the higher virtues, on the higher learnings, and the higher faculties of our own mind, intellect, and will. Like we don't want the leader of a country or even like a business typing in the chat GPT, dang, what do I do here? Like we don't want that. But again, at the same time, apparently they're really great at diagnosing diseases. So maybe we do. I don't know. But for now, my approach is stay away. My approach is I don't want AI in anything. I don't want it on any of my devices. Um, but I'm open to it being used as like a local resource. Like if it's not connected to a network and it can be an offline sort of like assistant, I'm more open to that type of AI. Um, yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Well, that's our thoughts on AI. Yeah. Let us know in the comments what you think about AI, and we'll see if you've used ChatGPT to come up with a comment. We'll
Exactly.
know. We'll
We'll
know.
test it.
All
Check out
right.
our store,
Oh yeah. Buy some
blog
stuff.
posts, analogcatholic.com. Sale is still going on if you're listening to this
Oh, that's
um,
right. The Pope
as it
sale,
comes out. Pope sale.
celebrating our new Pope.
If you buy
Um,
something on our store, you get a free sticker.
Follow us on social media at Analog Catholic, Twitter and Instagram. We're trying to approach social media a little more seriously now, even though we both want to throw up when we say that. So
Yeah.
help us out. Help us out. Give us a like, a retweet, a follow, all the good stuff.
Or if you hate social media, listen to our episode about how we hate social media. You could do that
Yes,
instead. One of
you can
those.
also do
Do
that
one of
instead.
those.
Either way, do one of those. Or write us a letter. We don't have an address to give you, but maybe you can just take a photo of it and comment it on one of our posts.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is Rob,
And this has been
and this is Ben.
Analog Catholic.
Hey.